Okay.
rotation.
Let's get started.
Okay. Take it away, Chef.
You want me to start?
Well, I can start with the DIY thing also.
Yeah, that
'Cause it
sounded
is coming.
interesting.
DIY. DIY.
Do it yourself.
Do it yourself. I was thinking about a bunch of things, but I don't know. Okay, let's just get started. Here we go. So Emerson said, "Do the thing and you shall have the power," or in other words, do push-ups.
Mm-hmm.
Or in other words, I, the yogi, have practiced just that. You who also seek liberation, please cultivate yourself in the same way. Or in other words, just because I'm a Buddha, don't believe what I'm saying. Test it for yourself. Test it for yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Do it yourself.
do it yourself, man.
Yeah.
So, and I've said this about any legit spiritual tradition, any legit spiritual culture,
Mm-hmm.
Or lineage is actually the most democratic, fair, just situation.
Why?
It's like, because you can literally do it yourself. You can only do it yourself.
Mm.
And that means you can literally go at your own pace.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know, one voice, one vote or something. It's literally like that.
Mm.
And so the community grows. It can only grow one person at a time.
Mm.
So there's this idea of Sangha or whatever, and it's like everybody's like part of a Sangha, or everyone wants to go up to Minla and like hang around and listen to people talk about shit. But it's like, that's not actually, it's like the Sangha only grows one member at a time.
Mm.
Someone who's actually trying to do the education.
In a way, like, the Sangha isn't really there if people aren't doing what you're saying. Meaning, like, if you're just coming around to hang out and listen to stuff, but you're not actually doing it yourself, then you're not contributing to the Sangha. Meaning, like, the Sangha as a being is just waiting for you to pick up the slack and, like, do your part, kind of.
Yeah, which is great. Yes. And also what I'm saying is, like, this is, an authentic lineage literally has it will what indicates an authentic, a real lineage, like the marker. It's like there's all this thing, oh, this is a cult, that's a cult, this is a cult, everything is a cult. Everything is a cult until DIY. Everything is a cult, meaning other people are thinking for you.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a cult is, right? Everything that we do is a cult unless we are in DIY mode.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? So what indicates a spiritual lineage, when we start to wake up to our own the mess that we've made,
mm-hmm.
and our own confusion, and we start looking for answers, it's obvious to us that we don't want to just continue to be brainwashed by other people's thinking and just other cultural, like we're substituting like some cultural influence for another cultural influence and never doing the thinking, doing the problem solving for ourselves. So obviously we all, if we were asked simple, would you rather think for yourself or have other people think for you?
Well, definitely would rather think for myself.
Of course.
But I think the difficult part about DIY is knowing what it is I'm trying to do, Like, I do want to think for myself, but it can be confusing to know what I'm actually trying to do that would give me the experience that I'm looking for. Like I was bringing it up to you earlier because we were talking about, what do you want to do? And like that, like doing something means creating something.
Yeah.
And that means you have to have the desire to create something. And you have to have I don't know, I want to use the word ego here to make a point.
Yeah.
You have to have like some sort of like identity that wants to do that thing.
Sure.
It can't just be some formless whatever. So anyway, I'm bringing this up to say that I think the kind of mainstream misconception about like superficial interpretation of Buddhism as kill your ego or kill your desires or something, that is very sad and harmful to this particular topic of do it yourself, because it takes away the understanding of importance that we're here to do shit with our lives. And it's not about getting rid of your desires or judging them or something like that. Like, I think that even our group sometimes gets caught up in that and thinking, like, judging our actions and like, well, what is the right thing to do or something like that.
Sure.
Did I derail you?
No, I just wanted to make the point that, again, we've said this a lot of times. Like, how do you know you're interacting with something that you actually want to be interacting with? How do you know that you're in a space that is a legitimate space, I'm saying? Right? So, traditionally, there are all these, let's call them probationary steps, that would be prerequisites for actually entering into the phase of becoming a serious student or a serious seeker or something. Right? Traditionally, that's all. So like, the period of our general research is not a period of practice.
So general research, you mean scoping out if this is the, I don't know, like the person to listen to?
Right. Or it's like if you have a severe injury, some people, if they have the means to, and they have a serious illness, they will get multiple opinions, multiple diagnoses before committing to a certain treatment.
So right? Find the right doctor.
Correct. So the question is then, how would I actually know whether or not I'm in a legit space or not? And I'm saying the primary marker of legit, real spiritual lineages is if they say, do it yourself. And that is the thing. No one can do this for you. You have to do these things.
Got it.
Here are some things that we have done in the past. Here are our results. We would recommend, because it has worked for us, we would recommend that you try it and see for yourself if it works or not. But this is about you standing up on your own 2 feet and learning to stabilize. Step 1, stabilize. Step 10, you feel fully alive, fully competent, clear. So that's what's amazing actually about what's so amazing about like the Dharma teachers that really get it, like the texts that they will use to teach from or to elaborate on, they're always bringing it back. They're always bringing it back to the tradition of DIY, whether they're pointing all the way back to historical Buddha's statement about, even though I'm a Buddha, I can't actually do anything for you. All I can say is that this was my process. Here has been my process. Step 1 to step 10. This is the technique. This is the why of it. See for yourself if it works. If it doesn't work, don't fucking listen to me. If this shit doesn't fucking work, why the fuck would you hang around? So they'll point all the way back to that, or they'll point to I, the yogi, have practiced just that. If you want to do it, try and see. Right? Atisha Lam.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, so I'm saying that, and that is the marker of a legitimate lineage, and it just so happens that that's also what we want. We don't want to go to a place and have our sovereignty and agency taken away by someone else. We don't want to have to subscribe to someone else's point of view. We want to think and do things for ourselves. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm saying, so that is why I feel, that's why I say something like it's the most democratic thing that has ever existed. Because you literally are encouraged and empowered to fucking do what makes you feel most alive and makes you most happy and healthy. Like, that's all we want for you. Mm-hmm. But you got to do it.
Yeah.
If you're not going to do it, this is not the place for you.
Mm-hmm.
What we do here is we do work here. If you don't want to come and do work, this is not the place for you. That's it. I don't want your money. I don't want you to I'm not going to walk through the crowd and like, I'm not going to let you bow in my, whatever the fuck. You dig what I'm saying? All that shit. Mm-hmm. Here we do work. You want to work out? Let's rock. Otherwise, that's it. But I'm saying, and that might sound harsh, but I'm saying actually that's what we want. We want to get better, healthier, stronger. That's what we want. Mm-hmm. I'm saying then if we really think about that, the only way that that's going to happen is if we are creating ourselves, building ourselves,
Mm-hmm. This is interesting because I've read a lot of the Rorik stuff, and they say labor. That's like the exact word that's used. That's an integral part of a student's development. And not just a student, but like that's just ongoing. That's forever working on something. And I can see how the topic can be a little bit elusive, meaning what is work? And what do you mean by doing work for, anyone who's listening? Sure. But I say this to say that word work or labor, I'm just pointing out that it can be kind of elusive to really know what is meant. And I think that especially right now, maybe many of us feel like this tension around that word, because I think, we can identify there's a certain work that's done in the world, meaning if we're deciding not to be renunciates, then we're assuming we need to make some amount of income, and so we have to work a job that the world acknowledges as payable, whatever, valuable. Sure. But we also understand that there is some other type of work that is not that. Maybe there's some overlap in special cases, but it can be difficult to distinguish between the two. And even if you can distinguish between those two types of work, then how much of each is required in order to keep making progress.
Yeah. I'm going to give you two metaphors, and then we can talk more specifically, but this might trigger something or spark more constructively.
Trigger!
Ah.
Okay, go.
Labor is how...
Having a baby.
Yes. This is how something is born. Isn't it? And also, something works or it doesn't work. Meaning, the process is true or is not true. is it working? The light stopped working. My phone's not working, you know? So another indicator of a legitimate line is that they're using words that have so many, like there's layers, right? It is, like we call ours, memorization and reflection modules. You know, like it's a word that can be unpacked. It's a symbolic word.
Memorization and reflection.
No, I'm saying that's what we call it, like the 3 this, the 4 this, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. Another indicator of a legitimate spiritual line, in addition to you got to do it yourself, is they're choosing words that are symbolic in and of themselves. They can mean a lot of things, right? So you can think about it, you can chew on it, and you can see, there's all these different, relationships. There's all these different processes that are held together by this one word. So it must be important for something. Okay. So I'm saying that if you take a word like work or a word like labor and you chew on it, like I was saying, I don't remember if it was the last podcast, the one before, when we move our mind in a certain way, stuff goes, aha, like that, right? We're like, spontaneously shit shows up. Clarity shows up. Clarity is a byproduct of us using our mind in a certain way. Like what we are as beings is a thing that can spontaneously give birth to its own understanding of itself, basically.
Whoa.
Right? If we use our mind in a certain way, we can spontaneously give birth to clarity about who we are and shit. Okay? So, I mean, essentially that's what a sentient being is, that it can make sense of things. Okay, meaning it can come to understand itself. Okay. So, when we use a word labor and we meditate, we familiarize ourselves as much as possible with labor and all of the different definitions and implications, we can see we're pointed to something important that is connection to a source. Yeah? Connection to a point of origin. And then not only that, but that we literally cannot come into being or survive without being protected by the point of origin. Meaning our moms. Or our parents, or however you can think of that. There is a very specific process without which we don't exist. Okay? So that's something to think about. In addition to that, what if we also can become laborers? Those that can do that activity for other people also. I'm saying not just in the literal sense of I'm going to be a mom, but when we dig into labor as a metaphor and the fact that without someone else's labor, we cannot exist. Right? I'm saying this is a big deal. Right? I remember, I think it's in Common Sense. There was one of the last essays, or the newest one. We were talking about like, how do you know if your practice is working? And if and one of the ways that we know that it's working is if either a sense of humility or sense of awe emerges through our contemplation on something.
Okay.
Right? I'm saying, so labor, if we think about labor and our moms or something, or just, like, fuck.
That we're doing it right, a sense of humility and awe.
A sense of humility and awe
arises.
should come, right? And that humility and awe and the image, the symbol of being generated by something, being nurtured and protected by something, that can become a legitimate aspiration. That's a bodhisattva vow, essentially, is that. I want to become the type of being that can shield others, nurture others, provide nutrition for,
Create things that help.
Yes. Just love, hug, embrace, shelter, whatever. I'm saying. So that, like, the symbol of labor, I'm saying we're just staying on that, and you can get to work, or maybe this is enough. The symbol of labor, the word labor, when contemplated on with sincerity, produces a vision of what we can become. It starts to show us the next step of our own development.
Like what to do next?
What to do next, or at least the general direction that we're moving. It's like, this is where this is going, right? First, because if you look, it's like step by step. We do the I'm trying to order Amazon. I'm trying to order this shit overnight, right? And we forget, like, nothing works like that. It's step by step by step. So if we take a word, labor, an image of people laboring or mothers in labor, and we think about, for example, someone built my car. Someone invested a certain amount of time and energy and worked hard to understand something very technical, right? And because of that, I get to go earn money and, like, go pursue my dreams and shit, right? So if there's no labor, there's nothing. So I'm saying, when we really thoroughly familiarize ourselves with the right types of concepts, by definition, what happens inside is humility, gratitude, and awe, right? And there's a reason why every also legit line always starts with some stupid form of meditation, like watch your thoughts or watch your breath, because they're trying to develop our capacity to sustain heightened observation, or in other words, concentration, or in other words, shamatha. Is what we're trying to do is be 100% maximum attention at maximum duration. So that when sense of awe is coming up, like I was saying, when sense of awe or sense of humility is coming up, you really start to feel what that's like. And you can, like, live in that, right? And the reason for doing that is that what happens when you live inside of that a lot, humility or gratitude, you naturally start to want, like, one of the things that is the DIY, I the yogi have practiced just that, just this. If you want to try it and see, maybe I'm wrong. But one of the things that happens, in addition to us being way more positive and open and creative, one of the things that happens when we learn to really live for a sustained period of time, or meditate on properly humility, gratitude, awe, is that then we want to be like those people. Like, our appreciation goes way up for those people, right? And so subliminally or magnetically, or however you want to think of that, we're starting to, there's a certain energy or force or just movement, the mind movement. It sets up a next sort of like we can see the next, we can see where we need to go, in other words.
In a non-contrived way.
Yes. and it generates its own enthusiasm.
Yeah.
So so anyway, it's not like it's easy to do. We're not saying that, but that is what makes also why certain spiritual lineages are still alive, is because this is what gets passed from teacher to student, is a certain like set of thought experiments and then techniques, and as a result of those thought experiments and exercises, something dawns, a deep sense of awe shows up. And when the deep sense of awe shows up, like, holy this is fucking amazing, right? Like, I'm saying, like, isn't it like, imagine when it's happened for you or for anyone listening, when the sense of, oh, holy shit is inside of you, how can stress or worry or I need money or they can't live in there also. Yeah. Right? So if all we did is walk around all the day like, fuck, this is amazing, dude, any opportunity would be open to us, because everyone would be like, yo, I love your vibe, or whatever, right? Yeah. It's like, so what we're looking for to manifest whatever the fuck actually would be inevitable if we lived with humility or gratitude or awe. Anyway. Yeah. Okay, again, and this is not like an assertion about anything. Yeah. I'm just saying, this is common sense. When you feel great, you can't be stressed out at the same time. Yeah. Well, okay, here's one catch. I feel that I find it easy to like get inside that feeling when it comes up in our conversations, particularly, like, it's when you speak about it's like most I don't know, synapses firing or something like that. But what I find difficult is to, like, I don't know if this is the correct way to do it, but to like sit down and try to redo that thought experiment. Mm-hmm. And I don't know if you have any suggestions or advice for anybody. Yeah. Well, just so we're being clean in terms of the where the conversation is going, because we're like taking a turn now from so I'm saying the first thing to do is to just very clearly notice something. Like, just clearly notice something. And then try to see if there is a corresponding principle. For example, if you feel happy, mm-hmm. you can't feel sad mm-hmm. at the same time. It's bittersweet. I'm saying, when you're really, like last night, it's Saturday night, it's the end of the work week. People want to have a shifty, we turn the, someone maybe is drinking a beer, chef comes out, he's drinking a beer, we're like chilling, mm-hmm. There's music playing, I don't know, like Usher, you don't have to come, people are like bobbing around, dancing and shit, right? It's like, when you're really there, I'm saying, like authentically having a good time. You're not also you're not thinking about the bills you have to pay. No. You're not. It's not there. Worried. Right? So I'm saying, just notice that. Okay? Then I'm saying, is there a corresponding principle? Is there something there that's actually like some meta fucking truth? Okay. Yeah? Maybe it is this is a hypothesis. Test and see for yourself if this is true or not.
DIY.
Can two opposing principles, two opposing forces, two opposing concepts is better. Can two opposing concepts occupy the same space at the same time?
And your hypothesis is no?
How? Like force, like if I put this on the thing, gravity, that's not an opposing concept. That's an integral fact of reality.
I feel like this could easily get misinterpreted, though.
Anyway, okay, so let me just say, you can't exist and not exist at the same time. If you're here, you're not here. Mm-hmm. Isn't it? You can't be in Texas and New York City physically at the same time, right? So there's what I'm saying is that the point I'm making is that it's not chaotic or random. Mm-hmm. There's something orderly behind a feeling.
Well, I wrote an essay about the orderliness, so I agree with you on that. However, I just want to throw it in there that this doesn't negate that there is complexity and subtlety to our experience. I think that's the only way that would potentially get misinterpreted.
Sure.
There are definite laws. You can't occupy two spaces at the same time in your physical body. But your body could be in Texas and you could be thinking about California.
Sure. Yeah,
whatever.
Sure. Yeah. But when you're thinking about California, you're not also thinking about Texas.
Right.
So the point I'm making is that ye cannot serve two masters.
Okay.
That's all.
Okay.
Can't be happy and sad, legitimately, authentically,
right,
at the same time. There's no space for that.
Okay.
There's no space for that. Mm-hmm. And then so now you're asking the question about technique. So how do we do this? So then again, notice, would you rather spend all day, feeling a sense of awe and wonder and humility and openness and thankfulness, or would you rather spend all day stressed out? It's obvious. I'm saying there's nothing really to do yet except notice some of these really fucking obvious things. Mm-hmm. I'm saying even when your mind is engaged in noticing, let's call it, that might be a cool thing to just start using as a word, noticing. Mm-hmm. When you're engaged in noticing, you're also not stressed out. You're just observing, or you're distancing, or you're isolating in a traditional sense.
That's a classic.
Right? Mm-hmm. You're distancing, you're isolating, you're observing, yes. Right?
Gurdjieff calls it that.
You're just noticing, hey, this is the thing. Mm-hmm. And then when you do that, maybe you can't go straight into humility, or you can't go straight into awe, or you can't go, yeah, party, fuck, this is amazing.
But at least it could take you out of depression.
Correct.
Or, I don't know, whatever other negative emotion.
Yeah.
Or, and maybe, I don't know, it's like, when talking about emotions, it gets challenging because the words are very limited. And there's a lot of just really intense associations that people have with words surrounding emotion. So I wonder if it would be more clear or helpful just to say that, at the very least, we can each acknowledge that we have a preference for some way that we would like to experience our lives.
Sure.
And that way, it doesn't have to be an argument about all feelings are valid or whatever people say, and try to argue that there's all this subtlety and complexity. It's okay, fine. That's fine.
Yeah.
But there's still some preference that everybody has. We have some sort of polarity And there's one way that we prefer to feel and one way that we don't want to feel generally. Like there's generally two groups. So noticing that we have a preference for something, however we want to define it.
Well, that's why commonality of preference is one of the primers.
Yeah. Yeah. So then noticing that, are you saying can be a useful
Yeah, I'm saying
technique?
I'm just saying I'm saying that if we'll just press pause for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Press pause and try to go all the way back down to the root of things. Okay? Like, what do you want?
Mm-hmm.
And thinking about that, not only just trying to say, oh, I want money, I want to start a job or something, you know, like.
What is your heart's wish?
That,
well, yeah.
That. What is your heart's wish? But also, what did I want yesterday? What did I want last week? What have I wanted? What's the pattern of wants? Like, can I see a pattern of wants?
That's interesting.
I'm hungry. I'm trying to go to the club. I'm trying to get money. I'm lonely.
Mm-hmm.
I need a job. I hate this job. Right? All those things versus what you just called heart's wish. That's a different thing. Right? It is a want, maybe. But it's like, while all of those little bitty wants were going on, was there this other one that you were still like doing during that or something? You know? I think that's getting to the idea of work that you're trying to bring up, or some of the other points that you're making.
Yeah.
Right? Are the things that you think are the pattern of little wants, not actually wants, is what I'm trying to also say,
like we were saying
want
last
versus
time.
need.
Yeah.
These are things that you need to do. You need to eat. You need friends. You need to be able to be successful at something.
So then if all of those needs are met, then what do you
Then what?
want?
Then what are you trying? Yes. What are you fucking trying to do?
Yeah. Yeah.
The fuck? Why are you here? Because you're not actually. I'm saying, what is the difference? Are you actually a sentient being?
Yeah.
Or are you just what's the difference between that leaf on the ground being blown around by the wind?
Right.
And you?
Right.
There's no difference. And that's why if you're, you've mentioned Gurdjieff and it comes up a lot. That's why he calls it that. Cats is asleep. You're not actually a real being. Or in Pinocchio, you're not. You're just a hollow thing. Or to use your spiritual dad's Hodorowski's Dune. What is the goal of life? It's to create yourself a soul. No one wants to hear that shit. Right? And we started this.
I already have a soul.
Yeah. We started this thing. We started this recent podcast by saying we don't want to hear criticism. Yeah. We don't want to hear that we're not real beings. But I'm saying, if you press pause and try to go all the way back down, what do you want? What did you want yesterday? Is there a pattern of wants? Are those things actually needs? Which means you haven't wanted anything yet.
That's really interesting, because this morning I was kind of thinking around this question, and I wrote something down, like this observation that I feel less clear about what I want, quote unquote, than I used to. But actually that's not an accurate statement, because all the things that I thought I wanted previously, I can see that actually they were just needs. And having explored the domain of those needs and seen that those aren't actually what I want, given the distinction that we're making between need and want, then it would be correct to say, I've never known what I wanted, or I've never thought about it, or, you know. So, yeah, of course it feels unclear. It feels like there's something generally that I'm here to do, or that I want to do with the gift of life, but it doesn't feel clear about the course of action to get there or fulfill it.
Yeah.
Something like that.
So this is where the idea of work comes in. Let's say that I get it. Oh, fuck, wow. That's crazy. These are just needs. These are just gods that live. They're like meta fucking gods, and they're everlasting, all permeating forces that live through us, that live through sentient beings, that provide a framework from which, with effort, a being can become a sentient being, a real being.
One that knows how to make sense of things.
And I do feel like some type of yearning or wanting. I understand that as a thing that's also distinct from, you know, just needing to do certain things. And so that's, you know, that's, if you can see that clearly, I'm saying this line of thinking, if you can really see that, then you can introduce like an adjacent concept or a supporting concept, such as yoga, as we've defined it, fundamental and inseparable togetherness, right? So, from the point of view of yoga, fundamental and inseparable togetherness, I will never be my own political zone. Like, I will never, ever be, quote unquote, free and independent. How? That's not possible.
Yeah.
Right? So, I'm either a slave, right? Or, this is when work, choice, will, maybe is a better word than want, actually. Choice, will as in agency. Indentured servitude. Or that's why the word servant is used. Steward is used. We seek to serve. Behold, service was joy. The reason that the word service, or a servant, or stewardship, is used is because one realizes one's connection. Fundamental and inseparable togetherness. And therefore, the choice is, how do we wish to steward? What do we wish to offer? How would we like to serve, in other words? What is the very best thing? Like, what's the highest thing that I'm aspiring to do, to give? To give to the fundamental and inseparable togetherness. And so then this becomes one's work, or one's life's work, or one's burden or something, one's responsibility. And this is a free choice for a real student. This is the only choice, actually. This is the only choice, is how would I like to serve my friends, my family, however you want to think of it.
Yeah.
And then the obvious again, once we have the skill of being able to sit with something for a long time and just let it marinate, it's obvious that we don't want to be shitty or mediocre at something.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Mm-hmm.
When you give something to someone, you don't give them a piece of shit something.
Mm-hmm.
You give the best of what you can give.
Mm-hmm.
If it's limited or if it's seemingly generous, it's the best that you can give. Right? That's all.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that we'll get better at something. If I go to the gym right now and work out, over time I'll be able to lift more weights.
Yeah.
Meaning if I'm committed, if I can take the time and think about a style of expression, a field of study, a discipline that I am excited about,
Mm-hmm.
that I do enjoy, that I admire, then obviously the more that I study that, the more that I practice that, the better I'm going to be at being able to offer something of value in that field of study, and offer something of value to the fucking fundamental and inseparable togetherness. This is all.
Yeah.
It's so obvious. It's too fucking simple.
Mm-hmm.
We just haven't pressed pause and gone all the way down to recognize that we've made a programming error, like from the beginning.
Yeah.
Like the coding, like that first keystroke, it went the wrong direction.
Right. Like I was just thinking about how, I don't know if this is the case for other people, but I can see how I have just been thinking or just going about it the wrong way. Like instead of sitting down and doing the thought experiment, starting with noticing like what have I wanted, blah, 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 doing it that way. And also actually accessing that true sense of awe and humility. If I did that rather than what I have been doing, it would probably be more effective, and I would like to try it to make sure that that's the case. But what I have been doing is like the Amazon thing, trying to skip to the end, trying to get the answer before I've really done the process to get to, show my work or whatever, like in math.
Sure.
So yeah, instead of doing those types of thought exercises, I can reflect on the past, however many months that I felt confused about what I quote unquote want to do. It's because I'm trying to just directly hit the thing and try to figure out like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to do? That's not how you do it.
Right.
I'm not going to figure it out by like analyzing what I want to do. There's a cause for the answer. There's a process to do it.
Yeah. I'm saying like imagine, like mostly we give gifts to people that we love.
Mm-hmm.
Like actually we give the most gifts to the people that we love. I'll say, right?
Yeah.
And you spend a lot of money, you give the best gift that you think is appropriate.
Or a lot of time.
Sure. Right?
Mm-hmm.
So imagine if you fell in love with all human beings.
Mm-hmm. You would want to give all your money and all your time and all your love to them.
Yeah, so that's all. That is the end of the path.
Mm-hmm.
This is the end of the path. You fall in love with all human beings and you want to give them the very best that you can give them.
Mm-hmm.
All your beloveds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the end of the path. And it makes sense. I'm saying, if we go like we have been going, you go step by step, you can see how obvious that is because you're already doing it. You're already
Just in a limited way.
In a limited way. You're already doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do it, it's like, that makes the most sense, you know? This is really the meaning of my life. I'm giving the best to my kid or something, or to my spouse, you know? Now just imagine if you had the same love for everyone. Now, yes, it would be impossible to service everyone, but it wouldn't be impossible to generate the divine pride or the fucking heroic attitude to become excellent at something, because you realize that the very best way for me to give to all of my beloveds is to become excellent at something, to pick a field of study that I really am passionate about and try to either support it or give something new to it, or you know, that's the best I can do. In addition to when I go to the store, I'm like, you know, whatever. I'm trying to have positive interactions all the time, or whatever. I'm saying, it's literally that simple. And we can see, if we move our minds in a certain way, you can start to zoom out and see the big picture step by step. Oh, this is okay. This is what I need to work on right now, or whatever. Anyway.
Well, yeah. I mean, we can wrap it up, but I was thinking that at least when I consider, like when I go from thinking about what is the best that I can give or offer as a gift to my immediate surroundings of beloveds, and then I switch to, you know, okay, imagine what if every single human being on the planet was my beloved in the same way that I feel about, you know, whoever in my life. Then it also, at least during that thought experiment, temporarily changes like the ideas of, you know, what comes to mind for what I would want to give. So even just in that little thought experiment, it's like, well, yeah, it's probably not most helpful to give my money to everybody in the world. Like maybe there's something else, you know. So it just changes the whole way of thinking about it.